Welcome to Nightlight. Step away from the mainstream and gather around as we enlighten the world and our realities and travel this cosmic journey we call life. Join us as we share with you and provide that beacon that can guide us all to a better way. Explore with us as we examine a metaphysical montage of spiritual insights, covering everything from the mundane to the magical, UFOs to unicorns, and everything in between. This is a time of awakening, of sharing and evolving, of spreading our wings and soaring on the cosmic breath of creation. Come and join with other light-minded spirits as we weave our lights together to seek understanding, enlightenment, and, with a little luck, some wisdom. This is Nightlight, a reminder that you are never alone.
Welcome, everybody, to our Sunday night special. This is Neon Twilight with your host, Solaris BleRaven, on Nightlight Radio. And we welcome you tonight because we've got a great topic to talk about, and we can't wait to get into it. So, Solaris, all of you know from her KCOR and her Freedom Slips radio programs, and I joyfully am so happy that she's decided to bring Neon Twilight onto Nightlight Radio because she is a font of wisdom and knowledge, and it's always a joy to be able to spend a Sunday night with her. Solaris, welcome to your show.
Well, thank you, Barbara, and thank you for that introduction. And likewise, I look forward to our monthly gathering. It's always so fun, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you for allowing me to be present on your network. It's fun.
Well, it's certainly grown over time, but your shows have too. I mean, you have thousands and thousands and thousands of shows out there, and it's so much fun to be able to just sit and talk and not be confined by the restrictions of whatever. We seem to very intelligently start with a topic and then leave it far behind in the dust. But
exactly. That's what we call travel in the galactic neighborhood.
I guess so, or what, cruising on the cosmic wave of consciousness.
There you go. That sounds good. Get those surfboards out. That's awesome.
Well, I think though that with something like this show, where we do start with a topic, but I really believe that we are guided in the different directions we take off into, because quite often it's like with readings. Lots of times people come to a reading and they have an issue they want to talk about. While Spirit has more things that are more important to give them, they keep going back to, when is my boyfriend going to propose to me or whatever, and Spirit is really wanting to talk to them about their career or their creativity or their emotionality, but they don't listen to that. So we start with a premise and we just let Spirit guide us where we go. And the starting off place this evening is about the positive and negative implications of using hallucinogenics for spiritual enhancement. And that's not just, for getting high and zoning out. It's for using them, all forms of them, as a way to get through that portal into your higher consciousness. And more and more today, people are focusing on using hallucinogenics for getting there. And I often wonder if people, well, let me start with it this way. people can't get through that portal until they are ready to get through that portal. Is that right?
Well, I would agree with you on that one. I think that, but at this point, if they're taking something to expedite that or accentuate the event, then that would definitely thwart them through it. They may not be prepared to handle it psychologically, energetically, spiritually speaking. So, you know, you have to factor those things in. I don't think people do that these days. If they're going to experiment, they're going to experiment. If you're in a sacred circle and you know how that can be very evolved, so to speak, when you're doing any type of drug. I hate to call it a drug, whatever you want to call it, but you know, ayahuasca comes to mind and some other ones. But you want to make sure that the area and the setting is spiritually sound, you know, in my opinion. And I probably didn't answer your question. See, I just went to another universe when I answered you. See how that goes? Sorry.
Well, yes, you did.
I do it all the time.
Let's reel you back in a little bit here.
I'm telling you, I'm not Earth-minded. I'm off-planet-minded. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, what gets to me is there are, for one thing, there are people that have gone to workshops to raise their kundalini. And the reality is your kundalini will raise when it's ready. It can be jerked up, but it'll go right back down like a rubber band if it's not time. So anybody doing a workshop like that, you know, don't waste your money. But there are hallucinogenics. Ayahuasca, you brought it up, is dangerous. It's so dangerous, it's unbelievable. And people seek it out, and they don't understand how corrupting it can be to your psyche, and physically it's not like, you know, smoking weed or taking a pill. Ayahuasca really puts you through the ringer, and I don't think people understand that.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's definitely like a poison if you think about it to some degree. But they transmute it alchemically. That's the whole. They do a huge detox, and then they transmute, and then they have these visions. I've never taken it, so I can't really say exactly, but I do know people who have, and they seem to think it's very beneficial. But yeah, I think anything can be dangerous like that if you don't know what's coming. And you know, just to ingest something just because someone else recommends it for spiritual enlightenment is something I would definitely look into. Do the work on that homework.
Yeah, I would hope you were spiritually enlightened before you even thought about using it.
Right. Well, I don't think some people are. I think they're looking for a thrill. You know, I think some people just do drugs just to break orbit with the misery of life. I hate to say it's miserable, but some people think it is. And when you look at it, it's just like they just want to get out of here. They want to take a trip someplace. They want to try to get more enlightened and more dialed into the cosmos. And I don't think they realize what goes on the biochemical level or any other level when they're taking these drugs.
Well, I have to go along with you because I've never, I've never smoked weed or taken anything. I always seem to have been able to get to that place inside of me that opened me up to greater creativity and stuff. So I never. Well, the thing is, I never smoked cigarettes, so I don't even know how to smoke. So. I've never been tempted. But you mentioned mushrooms. I might be tempted by a mushroom, you know, because I can chew and swallow. That I can do. But I'm just wondering.
You're so funny.
I'm just wondering, what does it do to you? How does it change you? I mean, yeah. Now you and I both
Which
are
drug,
in
though?
the spirit. Well, yeah, that's the point.
Drug, Barbara? Yeah, interact differently. And they won't call it a drug. Some people don't even like to acknowledge it as a drug. That's another part of it, too, you know.
Well, some kids take it and think it's candy, and it's ridiculous.
Well, yeah.
I'm not a purist by any means, shape, or form, but I've never been able to drink either. You know, I have one or two, and then I throw up, and then I want to go to bed. You know, so you know, I have friends that get giggly and have a wonderful time, and this never happened to me. So I've had to get my highs, spiritually speaking, from going into them in a natural state. So I have no frame of reference here, none at all.
Right.
Don't
right.
understand. You know. Go ahead.
Right. I'm walking in. Sorry about that. Most people who are spiritually enlightened don't need any drugs. They don't need anything to accentuate because they're already dialed in. That's you look at people who are Buddhist monks and some others. I mean, they literally would laugh at LSD. It doesn't do anything for them because they're already expanded in consciousness. So when you look and see it, we already activated our DNA insofar as expansion goes and evolution of consciousness, in my opinion. So something like that probably wouldn't even affect us to that level. Some people who haven't had any real outside experiences with consciousness take something like that and they get kind of, buzzed and high and they're thinking philosophically. They think it's a miracle drug when in fact it's just putting them in another orbit, maybe helping them relax. But it is interesting, and I have heard, even so far as the mushrooms go, I've heard that that's being used as a treatment now for possible bipolar and brain issues, which, if it works, it works. I mean, if it helps them reconfigure their brains, I'm not sure how that works, but I've heard from many people, including scientists, that that's something that they're looking at. That's a beneficial one. But for me, I like to I like to stay in control. Let's put it that way.
Oh, yeah. Well, if indeed it is able to put your ego to sleep a little bit, or to take down some of the walls that you have built around you, then I can see how energy can flow through that portal of creativity or oneness or whatever you want to call it, where you can have access to greater insight into your reality and your life and all of the above. But it's in my opinion, it's being abused like crazy. I mean, you have people who are addicted to the drug, but they're not getting anything out of it. That's what I don't understand.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think it is an addiction issue at this point. It's an epidemic to some degree because people are just looking for it out. Like I said, they want to get away from the misery of what they're doing in their illusion of living. I guess some people are, not everybody. Sometimes they have trauma. They're trying to get away from that. But in my opinion, you have to do some deep work on those to heal from that level or on that level of trauma. And these might be a placebo, and they might take the edge off, so to speak, just like a glass of wine. But I think when push comes to shove, I think deep healing is a very important thing to have. And whether it's someone who facilitates it for you, you do it yourself. That's my suggestion. And later on, I'm not here to judge anybody. I'm an observer. But if you want to dial into something like that, then just understand what you're dealing with and how it affects your body, because some people are not calibrated to deal with certain things connected to drugs and alcohol. Actually, it accentuates them in a negative fashion. It can make things more distorted for them instead of balanced.
Well, that's the other thing. When you take something that is mind-altering, you don't know whether it's going to be to a positive or a negative degree.
Right. Yeah, depending on the people you're around, too.
Oh, gosh, yeah. Now, what about...
If you sit there and drop acid and go to Ozzy Osbourne concert, I mean, you may not see so many pretty things. And nothing against Ozzy. I love Ozzy Osbourne. I'm just saying.
I do, too.
Atmospheric condition, right? It drives the situation. I mean, you look around and you see, well, are you going to be in a nice location when you're doing this, someplace where you're not going to be bothered, that sort of thing. That's what I would factor in anyway.
What about opium? Because the opium dens were very famous, still are, in China, I think. I haven't been there lately, so I don't really know. But opium has been used to. Is it to put you in almost like a coma? What I am terribly uneducated in this field.
Look this up. Well, this isn't really my area. We should be talking to Dr. Richard Miller. But opium, I consider it to be kind of like hash. I don't know offhand. I'll have to look into it a little bit more deeply, but it seems like it would take, once again, it's like marijuana in the sense that it makes everything easier in a sense. It calms the body, calms the mind. Yeah. I would say it's almost like heroin, and also hash combination maybe. I don't know offhand. I'll have to look into that.
I mean, when, we should have started out actually probably with how it all began, taking it back to the beginning, because in the beginning, hallucinogenics, biological hallucinogenics were used by sages and shamans and mystics, going way back to when it was a group. There was a group consciousness. Those that were guiding the group, would burn grasses and smell and breathe in the smoke, and would be taken to another realm. And I mean, that's how. I mean, and in those cases, it was used as a very positive thing. It was used as a, how are we going to guide the tribe? What are we going to do with the tribe? Where should we move? How should we move? And it was only I would like to say the more spiritually evolved that were doing this, that had the wisdom inside of them that could be accessed as to where it would be good for them to take the tribe to plant, to all of the things that they were being asked to prophesize about. And so, originally it was, they went to build a fire, they got dried grass, and some of the dried grass had some pretty potent stuff in it. And they figured out after a while which grasses it was, and used it for the benefit of the group. And I would think that the mushroom's the same way. That
I would think so. It's how you use it, in my opinion. You're taking a vision quest, you're taking a journey, and it's guided by usually the shaman, the facilitator, whoever's in charge of the group, and putting everybody in an altered space of consciousness. You go to some facilities and some places where they're doing mantras, and they'll do the mantra meditation. That's the same thing. They're putting themselves in an altered state of consciousness through the mantra itself, but still, it's not a drug, but it affects the brain and the mind in a similar fashion, in my opinion. So, I look at these things. I guess it's curiosity. Maybe it's just a way of just taking a vacation and taking a break, recreational, right? And also getting some spiritual benefit out of it.
Look at the Oracle of Delphi. I mean, these women sat above fumes that were coming from inside the earth that was putting them in another state of consciousness. And in that state of consciousness, they were answering questions. But I found it fascinating. They literally babbled. According to something I read, they would babble, literally. And then there were those that wrote down their babblings and then interpreted them for whoever had asked the question.
Right. I think I would have liked to have been a scribe and not the priestess back then. Then I would be able to translate their gibberish.
And I think, after reading that in a couple of places, I thought, well, then who was the real prophet? Was it the woman babbling, or was it the scribe interpreting?
The scribe. And another thing is, they're being poisoned. So if they're babbling, they're hallucinating like I don't know what, but basically getting toxified, or what's the word? Getting toxic over whatever the fumes are connected into. So, how crazy. Very strange.
But we've often revered these people that would it's sort of like trance mediumship. I mean, mediums don't take drugs, I don't think. But, I can only speak from my own experience. I don't take anything, but I'm not a full trance medium, so I don't go to La La Land. I'm still very present. But I think it's a matter of being able to shut down your ego and your consciousness and allow material to flow through you that certainly is shaded by your own consciousness, your own level of wisdom and stuff like that. But some people do believe that if they go to someone who is not all there, the material is going to be better, but that's not necessarily the case.
Oh, I agree. Well, you don't know what you're going to get. I mean, depending on the altered state of consciousness, if they are, I don't use anything like that to enhance my abilities either. If you're looking at somebody who's doing something, whether it's alcohol or some kind of a drug to enhance what they're capable of doing, it will probably create distortion in the field to some degree, or some entities and disembodied spirits. Maybe that's what they're looking for, to bring in something from the lower astral plane, because usually spirits have, and we've talked about that before, the spirits have wine and spirits bring in that particular type of entity. So you never know what you're going to get. I do know there are a lot of beings out there, a lot of mediums and psychics who do something, and they also drink, and excessively, in my opinion, which to me distorts the field. So, but that's none of my business, as I drink my cup of tea and look out the window.
Well, even
Kermit the Frog meme.
The Santeria, those women that go into the trances, they're drinking heavily while they're doing the dancing and getting into that state of mind where they can answer questions and a spirit takes them over, supposedly. And so there's alcohol there. I think that people are using it not as an enhancer but as an escape mechanism these days.
Mm-hmm.
Because it lets you forget about your traumas, as you said before, and sort of build a castle and live in the castle for a while, I guess. I think that
mm-hmm.
you know, it looks like marijuana is on its way to being legalized all over the place, and you just mentioned that the mushrooms are about to be legalized, possibly where you are. So,
mm-hmm.
I mean, what are we doing to society as a whole when we're making this much material available to people? It's not like,
mm-hmm.
Is it to escape the fact that life is a little harder now than it's ever been before? And if that's the case, does it dull everything down? I mean,
I think it does.
I would think.
Well, you know what it does? It brings distortion. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I mean, if you can ignore the situation, then you can't deal with it, and that's not a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, like I said, it's like having a glass of wine. It takes the edge off. If you're having a rough day, people, decompress. Little things like that. I understand. I totally do. But my point is that when it's excessive and it's available for recreation and more, I think that what you're dealing with is a huge amount of distortion and escapism, not based on just, becoming more evolved or centered, but being addicted to something that's helping them. It's almost enabling them to behave in a certain way. But then you look at the benefits on a bigger scale. Why would they do such a thing? Why would they allow this type of accessible drug use, right? To me, it's for control, because people are very easy to control when they're on drugs. It changes their brain chemistry. They cannot if you take it away from them, they freak out. They go through all kinds of, issues when it comes down to that. And I think that's part of the equation. I think that people are easier to control when they're in an altered state of consciousness.
I would agree. And I'm noticing these days that more and more children especially are being diagnosed with post-traumatic stress and ADHD, and things like Adderall and things like that are being given to them.
Oh, they get that. What they do, get their crayons taken away in kindergarten? I mean, why are they getting diagnosed with this stuff, Sorry.
No, seriously, yeah.
I mean it,
and so it's sort of like, and now with the fentanyl looking like candy, I mean, I would have grabbed a handful of them. It looks like candy. And
I've never seen it, but I've heard horror stories. Yeah.
No, I've seen it on TV, where they show the bags of the multicolored pills and stuff like that. I am so becoming, while I'm not against marijuana at all, I know that let's be fair to it, Patrick used it for pain control, and it was wonderful. And I was nauseous. I was terribly nauseous once, and he said, "Here, take one drag." And I said, "I don't know how." And he blew the smoke into my mouth and stuff, and my nauseousness went away. I mean,
they do that.
Yeah, it has tremendous benefits medically speaking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really does. There's no doubt.
And so it's kind of like, okay, but I guess anything if abused can be harmful.
I agree. What I have noticed is that I have no problem with people. It's their life. Moderation is the key, in my opinion, and using it as an adult, not some recklessness associated with it, but it's entirely their call. But what I have noticed is that with people I have known, at which say they're just taking it for pain and this, that, and the other, I've noticed their personality changes. And they're dumbed down, and they're just lulled, and they're not doing anything, and they have no ambition. And, I understand you're in pain. But once again, there are other treatments that can assist you besides that. And sometimes that's an easy escape route. And I'm not saying anything against anyone, but I'm just saying, to me, I think there are other ways. That's just my personal opinion, because I've seen people's lives destroyed by all kinds of drugs. And any kind of drug you can imagine, I've seen people destroyed. So I'm kind of like kind of detached from that.
Didn't MK Ultra use drugs too?
They use all kinds of stuff with people. And the acid was a big one, LSD. That opens up the DNA. It doesn't necessarily program the target, but it certainly opens them up for hallucinations and programming. I heard of scopolamine, which is one of the main ones from a CIA operative, and I don't know, I'm sure they still use that, or maybe they have something better now. And that one, they'll do anything. People will do anything you tell them to do. They won't remember a thing. Very dangerous drug.
What
that's
was
the whole
it?
idea.
What was it that Hitler had his army on? Speed.
I thought it was meth. Yeah, methamphetamine or something
like
that.
It was methamphetamine, and they lost all sense of what's right and wrong. They just plowed ahead, and they didn't. So there's a case of it taking away all of your all of your feelings of right and wrong and everything, and you just it's sweep it clean and kill everyone. And so I'm seeing the fact that drugs are so much more prevalent today, and not for it doesn't feel like the medical profession is giving them out, is paying attention to what they're for. They're just giving everybody drugs and hoping that nobody dies. I mean, it doesn't.
Right.
I'm really very concerned about the fact that Adderall was used for just a few things not too many years ago, and now everybody has Adderall, and it's addictive. And when you addict your population,
they're controllable once again. And that's the whole idea. I think it's really about mass mind control, even though it's not conspiracy. I mean, this is literally controlling the mass collective. Brainwave entrainment comes to mind. You're changing their brain chemistry. I don't care what anybody says. People say, oh, no, marijuana doesn't do that. Let me tell you something, it does. And you'll have all kinds of fits and withdrawals if you stop doing what you're doing. If you're addicted to that, you will flip out if you don't have it.
Oh, yeah.
I guarantee it, because it changed your brain chemistry over a matter of time in the illusion of space-time. And like I said, it's none of my business. I like people, whether they do drugs or no. I mean, I'm not like that. But I'm just saying, for their own spiritual evolution, their own state of consciousness, drugs put holes in the aura, as you probably know. They can put tears in the field, the electromagnetic field. They can cause, make you lull to a point where you can be taken over, whether it's an entity or whether it's something else. And let's not forget the technology that I'm familiar with, which is an interface of synthetic telepathy and psychotronics, which once they target once they get the target with the interface, and you're on drugs, and they amplify that, you're done. You're toast. You might as well just hang yourself. Oh, cancel that universe. You're going to be you're going to be having problems. Let's put it that way. I'll try not to get too much into that, but what comes to mind? Yeah. Directed energy weapons, radar. I don't care what it is. Misuse of waves of energy, radio, doesn't matter. People can lose their minds under that alone. So you think about doing drugs and then having that amplified over them.
Oh yeah. No,
it's really, really bad.
I was in a car accident 30 years ago or so, and I had vertigo, and I had anxiety attacks afterwards because it was a terrifying experience, and I was on Ativan, and the doctor kept saying, you have to keep it in your system, and that'll keep you stabilized, and on and on and on, and 5-6 years later, I said, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be, flip out. So I'd like to just stop the Ativan because I don't really feel I have a need for it. And he flipped out. He said, you don't understand. You're addicted to it. And I said,
oh, my gosh.
What? And he said, yeah, you're addicted to it. If you stop that cold turkey, you will go into convulsions and die. And it took me 2 years to get off of it. And it was the most frightening thing ever. And it was horrible.
Well, good for you to get off of that.
Well, he never
because that's shame on them. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, well, they didn't tell me it was addictive. They just gave it to me.
Mm-hmm. Right. Of course, they're just once again, here, have a candy. I don't like that. They're so easy to give prescriptions, but if you ask them for an antibiotic, oh, heaven forbid, Can't have one of those. You can't have anything but. You can get anything but an antibiotic at this point in space-time. That's terrible, though, and I'm sorry you had to deal with that, and I'm glad that you were able to get away from it, because that's lethal. Stuff like that is no good for you. There are other ways. My point is that there are other ways to heal yourself and resolve the problems that you're having, whether it's PTSD or whatever it is. There are other ways to go.
Yeah, and there are times when some medical stuff is necessary. I know it got to the point where if I got a prescription for anything, my doctor would just give me the PDF and said, just read what the side effects are and tell me if you'll take it or not.
Yeah.
And usually I said, I don't think so. You know.
Yeah, the PDFs are great. I encourage that. The medical dictionaries and all those, really good.
Oh yeah.
I recommend that, especially even for your animals. Look up what they're getting.
Oh yeah. Well, you know, when they have stuff on TV that they're advertising, they give you all of the side effects, and by the time they're done with the side effects, you know, no one should take that stuff. You know.
Exactly. You might as well just forget it. You know, do a water fast. Do something. Just get away from it. Detox your system yourself. It's always a solution. There's always an antidote, if you ask me. And nowadays, even with the legalization of drugs, they're capable of lacing them with things we don't even know. So it's not like you're just getting one thing. You might get something overlaid on it.
Oh, I would agree. But what about hypnosis? Would you put that in with a hallucinogenic? Because I kind of do. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think that it's very dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. Absolutely. I've been through these projects, you know, and some of them were interconnecting you to a point where you're in that lulled space of being programmed. And I think it's a very dangerous thing to be involved in, quite honestly. And people really need to know what they're doing if they're putting people under for regression work and anything like that, where you're going to maybe access a trigger or something that connects into their trauma, or even a possible alter. You don't know what you're dealing with when you have somebody on the table like that. So, yeah, I think it can be very dangerous.
Well, especially if you're talking to somebody that has PTSD or is highly affected by a trauma of some sort, because and the same thing with past life regression. You don't know what karma a situation has balanced out, or what its purpose is this lifetime. And if you try to erase or modify it, you can screw up a person's journey this lifetime.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing they can do is just heal through light, honestly. If you have trauma at the cellular level, the best thing to do is get a healing session. I don't think you need to go through the drama of any type of hardcore past life regression, because I think it can get very complex and it can be very, I don't even know if it's karma or dharma at this point, but I wouldn't recommend it unless it's absolutely necessary, to be honest.
Well, I know that I know I drowned in a past life. Had to drown in a couple of them because I freak out when I get my face wet when I wash my hair. So,
wow.
You know, I know I have an issue there, but
or you're reading somebody else, unless you're dialing into somebody else's transition. Well,
that could be, but I just know this has been with me since childhood, since 10, 11 years old. So,
yeah, that's interesting.
So it's you know, I understand where it may have come from, but I can deal with not getting my face wet. You know, I mean, it's not a phobia, because I kind of understand where it came from, and it's just something that I deal with. But you know, I think a lot of people have situations where they say, well, let's do a past life regression and find out where this came from. And past lives are not just independent situations. They're all interwoven. And if you disturb the weaving process, you could even screw up this lifetime.
Definitely can have some repercussions, no doubt about that. But then the thing is, people entangle each other all the time, you know, and that's the problem we look at also. It's not really karma or dharma, but it is the idea of meddling where you're not supposed to. And The reason I mention that is because some of the stuff I know about in covert warfare departments, they're meddling in people's lives and changing the dynamic of their primary timeline. When they do that, they're causing an alternate timeline to create itself because of the duress or whatever they've been through, and that creates entanglement and a lot of problems. So they don't understand this. Apparently, they don't have good personnel. But that's my 2 cents on it. So, yeah, it gets
or they
complex.
don't care. Or
they don't care. No, they could care less. Yeah, they don't care. They're all messed up anyway. Want everybody else to be.
No, I think that's what
I'm
really...
jaded. I'm sorry.
Well,
just a little jaded.
Well, you have a right to be. You have an absolute right to be.
Thank you.
And I think that's what being on a spiritual journey, being on a pathway to transformation, ascension, the whole thing. It's a very personal thing. And when you go to someone else to help you, and that's in quotes, air quotes, chances are you're gonna get screwed up. It's a personal journey.
Right. But at some point in space-time, at least for me, I've been involved with people who show up in my path that are great facilitators and help and assist. And it's just like almost uncovering what was already there, but it's basically another reboot to another level of consciousness. So if they're facilitating, I think that's beneficial, but it can take on different formulas. You have to be watchful, especially nowadays. I don't trust many people in the field nowadays, so it's changed. But once again, that's the whole thing about people being, I don't know if they're drugged or not. I can't tell you what they're all doing. So.
Well, I have found, and it's just my own personal journey and what I have found to this point in time. I'm not saying it's the only way, and I'm not saying it's everybody's way. I want to make it really clear here. But I have found that if I am interested in working on a particular aspect, in the past I've gone and looked for people who were experts in the field. And while people have always been, nice and shared their inspirations with me, that hasn't worked as well as being focused on working on an aspect and suddenly I'm drawn to someone or they're drawn to me or I get a call from someone that has just written a book on the exact topic I'm looking for. I tell people, wait for the call. If you make the call, it could be a wrong number or not the right time. But if the call comes to you, then you're ready for it. And it's often hard to be patient and work on waiting for that call.
Well, I think it's synchronicity too, because you're opening your consciousness up for another level of evolution, and with that comes a different formula, and that takes on the form of people you meet in your path on your journey, or books. How many times have we heard stories of books falling off the shelf? I think you even had that happen, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe not.
Oh.
But when they pop out and okay, so what caused that? Is it supernatural or is it something way beyond it? Yeah.
It is really funny because it's what do you say? I get synchronicities all the time. And it's sort of like, well, damn, I was just thinking about that, and there that is. And
right.
Instead of I was changing my website around, and I'm not sure about one of the changes I made, but I'm thinking, sit with it, Barbara, and see if there's a way you can make it work for you instead of wanting it your way, because maybe my way was not the best way. Maybe there's a better way, and I should be open to it. And and maybe not, but at least I will go with that, work with it, and see if you can enhance it the way so that it becomes even better than you thought. And that's usually what happens. It's trusting the universe is and not getting in the way of the universe. I have in the past mastered the art of getting in the way of the universe.
I think everybody does. You get in the way, get the personality out of the way, and just let it go. Yeah, no, I agree.
It's sort of like, it's okay, I know where we're going, I'll drive from here. And I hear laughter on the other side. I mean, I think they laugh at me a lot.
Yeah, you're being towed, but you don't even know it. You're driving all right. You're sitting there with the wheel, but the universal tow truck's got you. I'm kidding you. But that's what it reminds me of.
True.
I'm driving. I'm in charge.
I got it. I know exactly what you want me to do, and I keep forgetting that there's a spiritual energy pulling us forward if we pay attention.
Mhm.
And
I like letting go of the wheel for that. Yeah.
Well, it is fun, but it's just like I want it now. I don't want to wait for it, and and patience is obviously a lesson that all of us have to learn from time to time. But I think today, especially, people are more and more focused on the spiritual aspects of their life. I'm really impressed by it. People are falling away from organized religions, but they're really into the spiritual aspects of their own journeys, and it certainly includes whatever their churches had to offer, but they personalize it, which I think is just so precious. And I love to talk to those people, because it's kind of like I haven't really left the church. I've just gone in a new direction, and the church has been my foundation, and that's great.
Yeah, I think that's what it's supposed to be about. Just going to the next level. It's a stepping stone. That's all. If they want to branch out and keep evolving, I would say, keep navigating.
Well, and then there's the let's step off planet and really get out there.
That's me.
I know.
Let's go.
I mean,
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, if you really could, where would you go?
Beyond this configuration in space-time, and what I would consider to be a home planet. I've got coordinates going. I think we all have coordinates. This is another part of it, our dynamic cosmic blueprint, what I call the cosmic blueprint. I'm sure we have our own coordinates to get home. As we come from the stars, we go home to the stars. So we're here for a while in the illusion of space-time. We experience all kinds of things, whether we're teaching or we're learning, whatever it is. And then at some point, don't you just get homesick and say, you know what, this game board is really boring. And not that we're wanting to just check out, but we want to navigate the timeline off in between the realms and go beyond astral projection. But I like the teleportation, phase shifting, bilocation aspect. And, space travel is a big deal for me. So I would say, I think that's where we're heading. We've talked about this before in other shows, but I think that we're at the edge of the black where we need to go to that jump point as a race, as a civilization. I would take nothing less, quite honestly, at this point. I think that's a necessity right now.
Well, I agree with you, but I don't think it's in tin cans.
No, that's my point. That's what spirituality and calibration of the field is about.
Yeah.
Like our ancestors. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crossing through that. It's beaming up, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You bet.
And
it's not just Star Trek.
Yeah, he was in on a lot of meetings with a lot of the space people. So I think a lot of the stuff that he put into his show was stuff that he had learned from aliens or whatever he had heard in some of those meetings that he was a party to. But yeah, I agree with you. I think that they're doing a lot of things with caves that they have found and places where there are doors that go nowhere, and I really think that those portals are there and will open if the appropriate energetic field is before them.
That's correct. Yeah. It's also the same thing with a portal. I call access points, jump points, stargates, windows. Even windows, not the ones on the internet. But you have a window of opportunity of windows between space-time. And you can do that through whether it's synthetic or cosmically organic, both ways. But we are calibrated for that. I know we are. I don't care what anybody says. And it's just a matter of calibrating the field and redefining the perimeter of where we're heading, and we can get there. I'm sure they know this, and people in advanced space projects understand it. I'm sure they're doing it. That's my point. It's like, why are they wasting their time with the rockets and this, that, and the other just for the show? It's too boring for me.
Well, I mean, people are getting rich on the black ops, and that we don't know where any of the money's going. I agree with you. I think we're on sort of the right pathway working with energy. I think it has to do with frequency. I think it has to do with vibration. I think that there's something with energy that will open up the atoms that we are a part of us, that will kind of dissipate them so we can go through rock and doors and things like that, and then recalibrate when we get on the other side. I think that there's and I think we're capable of it without a machine. I think that's the big thing. They're creating all these machines, and I don't think we need machines in order to do this.
Well, their version of machines is not anything connected off-planet technology. So, you look at it like that. It's all about the calibration of the field here, but you have to calibrate it for out there. So my point is that once you start to calibrate to a different space-time configuration, the doorway opens for you, and then you can walk right through it. And you're calibrated. Everything is fine. Your body calibrates. It's like a spacesuit, a natural spacesuit, biotech spacesuit. And you go to your destination. You're right there. It's like entering into another sphere. So, I know we have that capability. And I think that through centuries and centuries of deception, a lot of bad programs that have been running to not calibrate the body properly, people have run into areas where they have almost like broken circuitry, where they can't reconfigure properly to get to these destinations. But in my opinion, that's our destiny. That's what we're supposed to be doing. So say we all.
I would go along with that. I mean, do you remember?
Yeah.
Are you young enough to remember the very first cell phones where you carried the battery around with you?
Well, I'm Jurassic Park. Yeah. I remember when they first went out. You're talking about in the 70s? What are you talking about? Like what year was that? Okay, so I might have known a few people in government agencies that had some interesting phones. Yeah. Okay. But I don't recall, but I know. I've been around. You lose enough. But still, they always had technology. That's nothing, though. Well, go ahead.
Yeah, I can remember the battery was heavier than my purse, and the phone itself was so big it was clunky. You almost needed two hands to hold it. And now we're down to, and I think that it's almost like humanity is the poor child, and that we're not getting any of the benefit for the technology that our government has actually has access to and is using.
Right. Well, that's the whole idea, is to keep everybody dim and dumbed down, and keep everything advanced and exotic away so they can have a breakaway. But their breakaway is going to not be so successful, if you ask me. But they have had some success when it comes down to being secretive, when it comes down to the way they weaponize the world and their capabilities. It's funny that you mentioned that cell phone. I remember when I first bought my first cell phone, the regular cell phones, the weirdest thing was like the Matrix. I remember being in the store. The guy hands me the phone, he turns on the number, and somebody calls it immediately. He looked at me, and his eyes got really big. And I said, what? It's like the movie The Matrix. And I should have known right then and there my life was going to go weird. So, but just a short story there to share. That was the weirdest thing. They weren't testing it. Somebody called the number. Yeah, it was really bizarre.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
No, that's really
pretty
cool.
wild. Well, it was cool. Then what happened later on in my life, so I don't know how cool it was. But Neo was on the line, apparently.
Well, let's put it this way. I think you're a better person for the experience you had, but it's awful that you had to go through it. I
agree. I think I've learned a lot. I've grown a lot. I know a lot about technology. I can easily work for those departments and troubleshoot. But, I think I was a good person to begin with, though. I think what it's done is it's calibrated me to go beyond this realm, and also given me the confidence to understand the advanced sciences off planet. I really understand and can decode things that I normally thought I could never do. And that is something that, whether it's through the interface or whatever, that's something that I carry with me and I hold very sacred at this point in my life. So some good things came of it, but the isolation, not being around loved ones and all that, and not ever being able to go back to the life I had is another thing. It's hard. It's hard not to do that, Well, it's like going to another universe.
Well, it is. And I've thought from time to time, what if my life had been totally different? I wouldn't be me, and I liked me. and it's sort of like, okay, so this, whatever it took to get me here, I'm grateful for. I'm not writing thank you letters, but I'm grateful, and I'm not that evolved. And, and it's sort of like, okay, and it's got me here, so where do I go next? And I think that's where I'm really focused. For the last couple of months, it's been, all right, the new year is going to be different. I know that normally every 10 years I shift my life around dramatically. And while this is not at that 10-year time frame, the shift is coming this year. And so I know that as I move into 2023, I'll be writing more. I'll have more going up on the website. I'll have more information that I'm going to be putting out there. That's why I'm going through the facelift of the website now, because I'm getting it ready to do for want of a better word, a dump onto the internet. And it's sort of like I feel pressure now to get it, the way I want it, so that as we come into the new year, that it's ready for me to start putting stuff up every day in one area or another. And it's sort of, I don't know where it's taking me, but it's going to be interesting. And I just know that it's going to be more writing than anything else. And my only, the only place that I have that I can really get my stuff out there is the website, but the website's been up there since 2009. 8, 9? No, it's been up there since 2000. It's been up there since I moved to Connecticut in 2004. It's been up there since about 2003. So it's
that's a long
been
time.
there. The website has been out there for a long time, and changed, and it's grown, and it's expanded, but it's sort of like, for some reason, as we hit 2023, I know that there are big shifts and changes that are going to be going on, and I want to be ready to address them.
I think that's appropriate. Yeah, I feel the same way, a different avenue, but yeah. This world is going away, it's phasing out. And another year, 2023 is good for me because supposedly it's the year of the rabbit, and that's my year, Buddy Rabbit. But if you're looking at Chinese astrology, I digress again. But I would say, get your ducks in a row, and that goes for anybody, really. Get ready to navigate. Yeah. Get ready to jump a timeline, is my opinion. Jump the timeline. Don't even think about this one here. Get ready to make the jump. The universe, we don't ride without a net out there, so.
Oh, yeah.
We have no net.
No, I just, when I was, the last couple of years, I haven't put up an overview of the coming year, and I'm going to do it this year. And I see governments all over the place crumbling. So, and that's a good thing because it's time to rebuild. And you have to, tear down before you can build up. But I think it's going to be a time of a lot of people rebelling, and it's not a matter, and it has nothing to do with politics. It has to do with the entire population of many different nations that are going to say, we've had it, change has to happen. And I think we're going to see that all over the world. So it's going to be fascinating to watch, a little scary. And I don't know what's going to happen with the United States, but probably some of it is going to affect us here. And, it's kind of like, it's a good thing. We're making room for massive growth. We're making room for a golden age somewhere down the line. And, it's there's new stuff happening here. It's really exciting. I stay away from crowds. I don't like crowds. I go to the grocery store, and that's as crowded as I want to get.
I don't blame you. You can't trust people nowadays, so probably better.
No, and I have a granddaughter who's got one more year of high school, and then she's going off to college, and they've been looking at colleges, and they actually went and looked at NYU, and I said to my son, you've got to be out of your mind if you're going to send her into New York City without a black belt of some sort, because she needs to be able to
I wouldn't bring her there. What is she going to major in? Does she know? Does she know what she's going to study?
Theater and communication.
Well, you can do that anywhere. I know they like New York City, probably Broadway, this, that, and the other, but I wouldn't recommend it.
I
wouldn't recommend it.
For Christmas, I got her some of those alarms you can put on your zipper so that, if somebody comes at you, you can set it off to scare the people away.
Well, she should get some pepper spray at least. Have a self-defense and Krav Maga or something worse. And then Krav Maga is really good, by the way. And then get a firearm if she can, lethal, conceal and carry. Train her. Well, that's what I would do.
A firearm, I don't think I'd go, but only because my son wouldn't go there. But she's 5'8". She's tall, so
that's good.
She's not a.
That helps.
Yeah. Oh, it's very good. But I'm concerned with what's happening on campuses now these days. I'm terrified.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing with the drugs. We were talking about the drugs, and they're drugging people. They're putting drugs on people on Kleenexes or whatever cloth it is on people on cloth, and they're putting it in the car, like in the handle. I've heard. I think we talked about this, but literally, there's some kind of a drug on it where it causes numbness in the hands and extremities, and they wind up in the ER. Anybody who sees any kind of cloth or tissue connected to your handle of your door handle in your car, your vehicle, don't touch it. Get gloves. Yeah. Don't touch anything that looks suspicious. I don't care if it's a piece of paper. And I would recommend everybody get some gloves and just wear them. And don't touch people unless you know them. I'm sorry. These are strange times, So you just have to pay attention to have situation awareness of that. It's going on, though.
Oh, yeah.
Very
and
strange.
it's I'm in Tennessee, and just down the road, they've had 2 shootings in the last week. And I'm rural.
Yeah.
I'm outside of Nashville, but it's very rural-ish.
Right, you shouldn't have any problems.
No. I mean, and it used to be if you heard gunshots, you knew a farmer was chasing coyotes. Today, you're wondering who's been shot. So,
that's no good. That's no good. It's getting out of control with the guns, for sure, but... Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think what bothers me with the guns is any idiot can get a gun. And, while they do a check of some sort, I mean, I know one person that is definitely, bipolar, if not schizophrenic, who managed to, get a handgun. And all I could think of is, oh, my Lord, he could freak out and shoot someone. I mean, it's just, that's not a good thing.
No, it can get pretty bizarre. Oh.
Yeah, no. I as far as I'm concerned, I'm pretty sure if I had a gun, I'd shoot myself in the foot. So.
Well, cancel out to the universe. But you know what? If they're on drugs, that's going to create that also. That's going to change their behavior too. So once again, that person might have had bipolar, schizophrenia, and the illusion of. But then what if somebody buys a weapon that's really clean, good background, doesn't do drugs? Also, they get involved in doing drugs, then they change their behavior immediately, and then you don't know what you're getting. So that can go south, too. I think there's all kinds of probability out there when it comes down to what can transpire when somebody gets a weapon. But, they do that with anything. They kill you with a sword or a knife or a screwdriver. I mean, they want to take you out, they're going to take you out.
Well, I have a baseball bat, and
that's a good one.
My son looked at me and he said, and so somebody breaks in, and what do? Say, wait a minute, I want to get my baseball bat? I mean, you
basically should be close proximity so you can grab it fast. And as they say in, signs, swing away. In the movie Signs.
Yeah.
I like baseball bats.
No.
They're good.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, or a golf club or anything. But
anything,
the thing is...
Yeah.
it's sort of like you when you get frightened for your own protection and you're afraid in your own home. That's a terrible place to be. But these days, I don't know. I honest to God don't know, Solaris, where it's safe. I mean,
it's not safe
people
anywhere.
who
you have to have. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying you just have to have situation awareness. It's not safe anywhere. You know, I can live away from people, far, far away in the street or on the street where nobody even thinks anybody lives out here off GPS, and you get some weirdo. Doesn't matter. They come out of the woodwork like zombies. So I would say expect the unexpected to anybody out there, and just have situation awareness. Don't let people get too close to you. Don't let them stand close behind you. I think I've mentioned that before. Just pay attention. Be aware. That's all I can say. And if you get a vibe, trust the vibe. Trust that psychic radar. You know, get out of the proximity of the place. If you're feeling bad vibes, get the heck out of Dodge. Get out of the area.
I have done that a number of times, and always there was a good reason.
Yeah, save your life, probably.
A couple of times it actually did, where I avoided an accident that, you know, I would have been right there when the accident happened if I hadn't turned around and gone back. I think that it's really important for people to trust their gut, unless they've had Mexican food.
Right.
You know.
Well, Spirit sends you messages, you know, like we were talking about before. Spirit will send you a message. You know, one time when I was working in the casino and surveillance, you know, and years back, but I remember driving early morning trying to get to work, and it was about a 40-minute drive, and there was this horrific winds were out. I mean, really, really strong winds that I've never seen before up here. And a tree had blown in the middle of the road. It was dark, and I luckily I saw it ahead of time, the illusionist. But that tree was right across the road and blocking my way to get over to my destination. So I wound up, I was so pissed off, instead of turning around saying I'm just not going to go, Spirit probably told me to stay home, I just got out there and I dragged that tree. I don't know how I had the energy to drag that tree. I dragged it off the road and I just kept going. But then everything was wrong when I got to work. Like everything was weird and weird stuff was going on. And I was like, I should have just stayed home. I think Spirit has a way of communicating to us. We should pay attention to it sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. I can't. I've lost count on the number of times when I've had to say, I just don't feel right about this, so I'm not going to do it. And I've made people angry from time to time, but I think you have to trust yourself because, you know, your own energetic field is a wonderful warning system if you pay attention to it.
It really is.
So many people, and you don't have to be a quote-unquote psychic. It's just, how do you feel? And I think that's one of the important things. You know, if you don't feel right about going into some place, don't turn around and find another place to go. Trust yourself because so often, you know, even if it's a grocery store, if you don't feel right, go to a different grocery store. There's always a reason, and and many times you won't know what that reason is. But the more you trust your own feelings, the more strongly they will come, and at some point in time, they probably will save your life.
I totally agree.
I think so many people are going for superficial warning systems when you have your own built-in.
Right, yeah, they're waiting for Alexa to pop up or something, right? You're in danger. Then you get the little robot from Lost in Space. I wouldn't mind one of them.
Danger, Will Robinson.
Right.
Yeah, no.
Robbie the robot's good. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, he was cute.
He was precious. I like robots, I must say. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, some of them are really spectacular these days. But, you know, I keep thinking the times are changing so dramatically that even, I mean, the only thing that I think is going to survive, which is really weird, are the podcasts. I think, you know,
yeah, probably.
I mean, when you think about it, you know, the TV shows, you know, the news shows are being accused of lying and being politically leaning one way or the other. And most of those people who are newscasters or whatever, they all have podcasts. Have you noticed that?
I've noticed that. It's funny how they're starting to pick up on the trend. Well, alternative media started taking over the mainstream. And I think that's why they saw it as competition. If you notice, not anything against any travel channel or anything else, but they started doing like scouting for talent, following podcasts like what you and I put out with our guests, and taking our guests and interviewing them and getting them on shows. This has happened to me several times over. And I was like, wow, you made it. You're over there. That's great. And I'm happy for them, no problem. But it is interesting. They are looking for talent outside their perimeter, which is us. So that's something to, I think that's pretty cool in a weird way.
Well, I think it became very apparent with the pandemic because the only things that were still up and running in a very healthy way were the podcasts. And then people started to do virtual school, and they discovered the podcasts, and I think, I don't know about you, but the listening audience for Mark and I has grown tremendously. And
that's very good.
Yeah, it's exciting because you and I get to put out there alternative thoughts on lots of different things, and I have some areas I cover. Mark has areas he covers, and between us, and then the Hieronymuses, screen their stuff on our show too. So
they're great.
There's quite a variety. I think on Blog Talk,
educational too.
Yeah, on Blog Talk alone, we have over 1,000 shows. So
that's awesome.
It is. I look at it and I think, oh my gosh, did we do all that? And yeah, we did. So it
adds up after a while. I've lost track of how many podcasts I have out there in files. Somebody will pop it up. Remember this? Remember that? Like, please go away. I said that in a nice way.
Well, I have to admit, I have this thing about numbers, about getting to certain numbers, and I think I drove poor Mark crazy when we were getting up to 2,000 followers on the YouTube channel. It was like, almost everyone I talked to, it was, have you been on our YouTube channel? Are you a subscriber? Please go and subscribe. So.
Oh, that's cute. Well, that's good. It's good to promote it. Nothing wrong with that.
Well, yeah. No, it's we got the 2,000, and so I'm not gonna be beating the bushes anymore. Just whatever comes. But it was exciting to get to 1,000, and then it was really exciting to get to 2,000. And when I get closer to 2,500 or something, I'll probably get the itch again. But for now, we just cruise, and we don't really pay a lot of attention to it. But I think that it's important that and even public radio, is it public radio? Even public radio is becoming politicized, so that fighting the truth. Because Patrick used to say, don't listen to any of the news channels. They all tell you their truth, but it's not necessarily yours. And I said, so where do you go for the truth? And he said, don't even go to public radio anymore. It's like Radio Free Europe or whatever. It's not anymore. And he said, you have to find people who are podcasting that have the same belief system you do, and listen to them, because that's the only way that you will find information. And you and I we put authors out there, and we let them and I will admit that I am selective. If I don't agree with the material an author has written, I don't do the show. But there are enough books out there to sink a battleship. So
oh, I love it. I can't have enough books. Yeah. Well, you have a resonance of the data, and I think that's it. Oh, go ahead.
I think I sent you that link to Hermes Trismegistus Light.
Is that the one that you were saying they rewrote the keys? Oh?
He wrote, the Emerald Tablets and stuff, yeah.
Right, that's what we were talking about doing. So when did that come out? Did you steal our idea?
It's just now published. So,
I was going to say, he must have stolen our idea. No, just kidding. We were talking about this less than 6 months ago. We were decoding that.
No, I don't.
Remember? And
I don't have to do it.
I might
read the book.
I want to see what his is about. I'm going to look and see how he decoded it, and I'll see if I can do any better. I'm curious now. I do want to read it. He sounds very interesting. I love that. I love that book anyway.
Oh,
Keys of Enoch kept coming in. I'm sorry, I don't know why. So I was reading that one.
Have you read the Keys of Enoch? That's a tough read.
Oh yeah, it is a tough read. I've highlighted it the heck out of my book. You should see it, all yellow. But I love that book. I really enjoy it. I still reread it.
Yeah.
I love certain passages in the book are very powerful.
I agree with you, and I think my friend Jeannie, she has ADHD. She just can't read. She can't sit and read. She just can't.
Mm-hmm.
And so every now and then I will find a book and say to her, "Look, the chapters are very short. You could read a chapter and then put it down." And and she's. I think we have a lot of books coming out in audio now too, so that. But that would put me to sleep.
I don't care for audiobooks. Yeah.
I don't either.
I like to read. Still, after everything I've been through. So.
Well, you must be going through about a book a week too.
Well, I've been writing my own books, and then I took a break. But I actually am behind on a few books to be reading. But I did read the last book for my last guest, so I have been reading, and I do enjoy it. And I get through things fairly fast, so that's always nice. I love books.
Yeah,
I wish we had a Library of Alexandria. I mean, I love big libraries. I really love books.
Oh gosh, have you seen? There's a website. I think it's Spiritual Texts or something like that.
I think you told me about it, didn't you?
It has.
Is it a big library online?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you might have mentioned that to me. I'll have to check that out.
Spiritual Texts. Happened to be on the computer.
Very nice. All right.
Well, hard to avoid since we're on it.
She's Googling as we talk.
I am. That's Spiritual Text
We
Academy,
multitask
maybe?
over here. Well, I'm sorry. I'm very sarcastic tonight. I'm in a good mood, though. That's good. Illusion Space-Time.
Oh, yeah. I have no problem with that. I'll have to find it because I've got someplace my sister gave me a thumb drive with all of the material on it. And it's fabulous because you can type any topic in, and it gives you hundreds of references and the links to them.
Yeah, that sounds great. I'd like to look at that. Very nice.
When we get off, I'm going to have to search out that little thumb drive and see if I can find it. But it's, there is so much available out there. I think my one big fear is that somebody's going to send an EMP and take the internet down.
Well, they can reboot it if it really happens. There's so many different versions of the internet. I'm not buying that we could lose our internet and not get it back. We can. Plus, there's always the other formula of library. Thank goodness we have books in hard copy, right?
Oh yeah, but I put all of my stuff on Kindle because it's easier for me to read.
Mhm. A lot of people like Kindle.
But it's just, I think that when it comes to these times where people are searching, so seriously for, I think meditation stuff is something that they're searching for now these days more than anything else that I've noticed. It's like, how do I meditate? Tell me how to get to the place where you are. And it's kind of like, I can't tell you how to get where I am, but I can tell you that every person, every sage, every medium, every person who appears to be full of wisdom and stuff like that I know would tell you that meditation is the first place you've got to start. That will get you to a place where information can flow through you, which is, very exciting. So it's kind of like start with meditation. I know that sounds so simple, and it is. But once you get going with the meditation, everything else sort of falls into place.
Mhm.
But you
yeah,
know,
it really does.
I mean, you started this a gazillion years ago as well, right? I mean, you were.
Mhm. Yeah, I was always in a form
you,
of meditation.
Before you got into all of the black stuff that you got into, were you working in a spiritual field as well?
Oh yeah, that's definitely before, like with transmutation through ascension. But prior to that, I was doing energy work, healing, readings, assessments, and timeline astrology. I was doing all kinds of meditations and meditation. Plus, I was martial artist instructor, so that's meditative too, teaching qigong, tai chi, and then of course the taekwondo and kickboxing. So yeah, I was doing all kinds of stuff in meditation. I'm used to that. When I was very young, I used to do a lot of automatic writing, and I didn't realize what it was, but I was always streaming data. And I used to sit by the typewriter and put out a bunch of information. That's when I was younger. So I was always able to access the field. Just didn't understand it a whole lot.
Yeah, for a long time I did. I was painting personal mandalas for people. And the reading that went along with them was automatic writing. And
nice.
it was so much fun. And I did I think there are about 500 of them around the world. And as soon as I did the deck of cards, I stopped painting. So it was kind of like that created the foundation for the deck of cards. And once the cards were done, I didn't have to paint anymore. It was the weirdest thing. Yeah.
That's a nice completion
I
cycle.
think it was, and it didn't feel right anymore. It kind of felt like the 500 personal mandalas were what got me to the place where I could do the 52 cards that were in the deck of cards, and then once the cards were done, I did not paint. I think I finished up the ones I had orders for, and then that was it. I was done.
Wow, that's very good. Well, maybe that was what it was for to begin with. So it's a primer to the cards. Yeah.
Well,
sounds like it.
I think that's another thing. You know, sometimes talents, gifts, situations are only for a short period of time, and then it's time you move on. And I think so many of us, hey, I'm doing well with this, and there are lots of orders, I should keep going. And it was like, no, I'm done. There's got to be something else here. So, and I think that's when the website came into being.
Oh, that's good.
And
nice.
so it was like, it's kind of like, and the more creative you are, the more outlets you have for your creativity, the easier things do become for you. At least I have found that.
I agree. Yeah, it's multitasking. Well, I find that gifts just morph anyway. It's not like you really stop what you're doing, but it takes on a different formula as you navigate in your consciousness. And sometimes it's just very different, but the skill's still there. It's just a matter of how it's being reconfigured, at least for me. So, yeah. And people will know when they get burnout. When you have burnout, take a break, rewrite, do something else. That goes for any career, anything you're doing. If you feel if it's not fun anymore, and if you don't like it, take a break from it.
Well, yeah, that's what I tell everybody about the radio show. I'm having a lot of fun doing it, and when it stops being fun, I will stop doing it. So, but it's still fun. It's
I enjoy it.
Well, I don't know about you, but it's my way of being connected to hundreds, maybe thousands of people without having to go anywhere.
Yeah, isn't it fun? We don't have to move anywhere in the illusion of space-time. We're just here. Yeah, and they're just there. But we're all connecting.
And it just it's sort of like, okay, this is super because I don't have to I don't have to go into a crowd. I don't have to travel. I mean, at one point I traveled to psychic fairs and stuff like that for a long time. I don't need to do any of that. I'm here at the computer, and I do the writing I need to do for the website, and I do the podcasts, and it's a very fulfilling life. Yeah.
Mhm. Makes it a lot easier. Plus, you don't waste any fuel. And there's so many pluses to working from home, whatever you're doing from home. But I like it. Yeah.
But I think during these times, the one thing I would say to everybody is find a way of meditating and at least a channel of creativity that you enjoy doing, that you can get involved in, because that as well opens up the portals within you that allow material to flow through you and touch your life in many different ways. We're coming into times where utilizing those skills that you have inside of you are going to be very important. So play with them and get in touch with them and utilize them as best you can. And don't do it through hallucinogenics.
Yeah, I know. I wouldn't recommend it, but I know a lot of people who do. But yeah, I mean, they're nice people. They're great people. I know quite a few people who use ceremonial drugs, and not for recreation, but for ceremony.
Well, a ceremony is a whole other thing. I mean, if you're doing a ceremony, I can see that. I mean, sage it's not a hallucinogenic, but it certainly makes itself known. But there are other things that help you to relax into that energetic field that allows you to open yourself up and trust that only good information comes through. And I'm 100% for that. But it's kind of like don't whack out and go crazy with it, because then it destroys you. Then you're setting yourself up for karma for another life or 2 or 3 or 4. And you don't want to do that. You want to be of service to yourself and to your fellow man, but you don't want to get lost in the process and rely upon something else to get you to where you can get to naturally yourself.
Very true. Yeah, you have all the components within. No doubt about it.
Yeah, I think the biggest problem most of us have is our ego.
Yeah, a lot of the time people have ego, but sometimes if they just get the personality out of the way, they should be okay. And plus, it's just practice. I mean, it's just about just wanting to grow and evolve spiritually and doing something about it, taking the initiative. Some people don't know how.
Well, your book on transformation is a fabulous book to start with.
Well, thank you. You say that a lot. Thank you very much, though. I do appreciate it.
Oh, I love that book.
My first book. Well, I appreciate that. It has a special place in my heart. I don't think a lot of other people liked it, but I do. You like it, so thank you.
Oh, I not only like it, I steal from it all the time.
Thank you.
It's a wonderful book. Yeah, I've got you recorded with that. If anybody comes at me,
hey, no problem.
But no, I think what's wonderful about it is it's a short book. It's not 500, 800 pages, and it's very explicit, and it's simple, and it helps you. It helps you to guide you through initial phases, which is fabulous.
It was my first book, so I thought I did an okay job with it.
You did a great job
when you
with
create
it.
your first masterpiece, and it doesn't matter if people don't think it's your masterpiece or not. It was my masterpiece because it was the first book I ever wrote and published, and self-published nonetheless. It was out there. It's just such a nice feeling to accomplish something. Your words on paper, your thoughts, your states of consciousness, and what you've learned, and how you can share it with others. I think that's the biggest message I had. I had no expectations of anything. I just knew it was supposed to be out there. Which is good.
You've written
and I designed the cover.
4 or 5. Yeah, that's your painting. Now you've written 4 or 5, and of course
I think
the
I have more
other.
than that.
Well,
yeah.
I know the one I love is your Halloween book. That one is precious.
Yeah,
that one is just.
I'm glad you like it. Why isn't that one a bestseller? I don't know. It's just it should have been off the rails like sales wise. No offense. I mean, I'm not like greedy, but I'm saying that book is really cute. I agree with you, and yet it's one of those. People are starting to get it now. They're starting to see it, but it's not really advertised much. I think that's part of it. I try to advertise it for the holidays.
Well, the illustrations are just gorgeous. And
thank you. She did a good job. Yeah.
Yeah. For those of you that don't know about her, the other side of Solaris. She's written a book on Halloween, and it's Mr. Moon and the Halloween Dance. Is that it?
Oh, it's Mr. Oh, God. That must be a sequel. No, it's Mr. Sun and the Halloween Ball, but I like yours. Mr. Sun and the Halloween Ball.
Okay.
I'm going to have to remember your title, though. That sounds like another one. Sounds like a sequel.
Well, when you stop and think about it, the sun and the moon, are sister and brother, so to speak. But it's a children's book about metaphysical characters, and it's so beautifully written, and the illustrations are just to die for. They are just gorgeous. And
I appreciate that.
Oh,
I thought they were cute.
Well, I've given it to many people, so you've had some sales.
Oh, thank you. They're so cute. Harold the Gnome is one of the characters. I mean, they're just adorable. I am pleased with that. Do you ever wonder, like, when you write something, like, how did I even do that? Sometimes it's amazing when we get into that creative stream. It's really nice. And I encourage everybody, if you're interested in writing, to just sit and write or meditate, because this is what comes out, creativity and spirituality and some divine blueprint that connects in. It's really fun. I love to write. And I think, I'm glad to hear that you're going to be writing again, Barbara, because it's so wonderful and so beneficial to not only yourself, but everyone else who reads it.
Well, yeah, it really, I kind of backed up for a while, and then I got itching again, and it's sort of like there are a couple of new sections on the website. There's one called What If that I will be adding more to. The first page is there, but I have a lot more that I'll put up. And the other is the new blog. And it's just, I think you have to facelift now and then, and you have to change things around, and you have to get ready to, I don't know if the writing is where I should be going. It just feels like it, so I'm getting everything set up. I have my lists of things that I want to write for the website that I want to get up, and, once that's all done, I don't know where I'll go, but I'll find somewhere,
Oh, yeah. Well, writing's putting it out in the field there. You're creating a reality with that. So maybe it's something energetically that needs to be done to put it out there in the field and ether itself, make it more tangible.
Well, that could be. I do trust that the impetus is there, the feeling is there that, I really have to get myself ready for this. And so by the first of the year, everything will be the way it should be, and I'll be adding to it on a regular basis. So I don't know, for a long time I didn't, I was just focused on reading the books and doing the interviews, and then it occurred to me that I'm really not doing anything creative. I should really be doing creative stuff too. And so it's kind of like, take my own advice and get back to work.
Well, I think that's great. And when you get your book published, I'll be interviewing you.
Well, actually, Wallace Wagner. Is it Wally Wagner? Yeah. No, he interviewed me. It's Ken. Oh, God. Now, if Mark were on his toes, he could give me the name of the guy. Somebody who was writing a book. It's terrible. He's obviously not on his feet.
Where are you,
so
Mark?
It's Ken. Yeah, where are you when I need you? Ken Godsworth. He's doing a book on UFOs in the Bible, and I think the book is called. He got it. He called me
Mark.
and he said, "Yes, thank you." And he said that he noticed on my website I had a lot of material, and he asked me if he could use the material, and I said sure. And then he said, "Well, would you write something for the back of the book?" And I said, "Oh, I'd be happy to." And then he he called me back and he said, "Well, will you write the book with me?" And I said, "What?" And he said, "No, will you collaborate with me?" And I said, "Sure." And then he sent me the cover of the book, and there's my name on the cover of the book. So he and I will collaboratively. He's doing the publishing.
Well, that's good.
And when I stopped to think about it, 90% of it came from my website. So yeah, that's fair.
Oh yeah, that's excellent. Very cool.
But yeah, that'll be exciting. But I think writing and publishing is probably in my future someplace. I'm just not sure what, but when I figure it out, I suspect it will just happen on its own at the right time. And I think that's what all of us have to do. You start generating that creative energy, and then whatever is right or meant to be evolves out of that energy. But it's like a car. If you don't put gas in the engine, it won't run. So if you don't fuel the creative process, nothing is going to come from it. So,
right. It's a legacy too. That's one thing about writing. It's your legacy. I mean, for me, it is anyway. When you look at the world today, and you look at where you've been, and you had so much influence as a teacher, this, that, and the other. But you wonder what's left. Is there anything left that I've left behind? If I had to leave this world tomorrow, what would I have left as an archive of data for somebody? And I think books have that kind of imprint in there where they reach out to many, many beings, many seekers. That's what I like about books. And at least my books, they don't attract everybody, but there's a time capsule there. There's something there, and it's like a little crystalline archive. And I find I think that's important, that we leave something with a bigger picture of the world here, like a marker.
Well, a long time ago, I got to thinking about how, the pyramids and the Sphinx and everything are 3,000 to 5,000 years old, and okay, so there's time, there's a reminder of history there, but in 5,000 years, my condo is not going to be standing. A lot of stuff won't be standing, and it's kind of like, what is this generation leaving behind? The technology, that'll be wiped out. One good comet hit, and it's toast. And the only thing I can think of that comes from our generation would be Mount Rushmore. Because, stones.
I wouldn't hold your breath on that
last.
one. Right?
No, I don't think that.
Somebody's going to
Someone's going to blow it up. Sometime soon.
Somebody's going to take it down. I'm sorry to say that.
Yeah,
the universe,
I'm pretty sure.
Sorry. It's on the list somewhere. Somebody's got a list for that one.
But you and I are leaving an electronic legacy with our radio shows that will float out there in the ether forever. So it electronically it will go forever. So that our podcasts are really our legacy that we're leaving for time itself to discover, I guess. Because our music is out there. Anything on the internet is out there. And even though the internet may go down electronically, it still floats on the ether. And
yes, in the field.
So some spaceship cruising by or whatever, 5,000 years from now, will pick up a signal that will be, either your show or my show, and we'll hear our voices talking about whatever we're talking about, and with a translator, of course, because obviously they won't talk English, but they'll be able to get the gist of what we're talking about. So doing the podcast is like leaving a legacy.
I think it is. It's funny you mentioned the ships. I'm like, well, chances are that I'll be there in my future self looking at it like, oh my God. Where'd that come from?
Well, I'm horrified to think that some of our music will be out there too.
Well, there's some good music. We had some great rock and roll here back in the day. I don't know about it today on this timeline, but yeah, that's interesting, isn't it?
We definitely did. But what's I mean, there to be fair, there's some good music out there now too, but not of the rapping music and everything. Holy cow! Hamilton, the Broadway show. I had to listen to it 4 or 5 times to even get the words of what they were saying. So I mean, it's really clipping right along there. But no, I think we are leaving a legacy. It's just not what we expect. And the last few times there has been a mass destruction event, it's usually been from a comet hit. So I would suspect that's what is going to, in 17,000 years or so, that's what's going to send us back to the Stone Age. And, then we'll build all over again. And hopefully at that point, we'll do better than we did this time. Because at this point, I'm not real proud of what humanity has done. So,
it's been quite of a mess, hasn't it? Yeah,
well, it's even when you look at archaeology, they've made discoveries that they are ignoring because they don't fit into their patterns, and so we're missing out on a lot of the stuff that probably would be enlightening for us. For instance, the hieroglyphs in some of the pyramids. First of all, how did they get the painting and everything done? Because there's no soot anyplace. And they do have a hieroglyph that looks exactly like an electric light bulb. So did they have electricity? How did they get this stuff painted? They were underground, for Pete's sakes. And the painting is meticulous. So how did they do that?
Yeah, there's a lot of mystery with the Giza Plateau, as we know. Also, a lot of excavation going on right under the noses. So, a lot happening over there. That's for darn sure. But at the same time, go ahead. Yeah, but the thing is, it's all obfuscated for centuries and decades. It's been so cloaked, and the little bits of data they give you is not accurate. But the cellular memory, and if you're dialed into off-planet celestial design works and what I call off-planet intelligence, you get it. You get the real information in the data codes correctly. But it's been a disservice for everybody to be dumbed down and switched off, and that's where that carousel ride needs to stop. It just needs to end. I think it is ending, to be honest with you. You're not the first one that's told me that something big's happening in January. I've known it myself looking at the timeline, but there's some other stuff going on, big transitions, big changes in January. So something to look at. Like, people are really understanding that something big is going on. For you, it's more about getting set up and get yourself in alignment for your future in the illusion of space-time, but something else is coming in and eclipsing, and I don't think we're going to be hit by a meteor. I think that's going to be something else intersecting. There's going to be something else connecting in. I don't think it's going to be a meteor. It's going to be bigger than that.
No, the meteor is not for 17,000 years. I don't think we're going to have a mass destruction event.
But we are going to have something changing the space-time, in my opinion.
I think absolutely, and I think there's either a pole shift or there's definitely plate activity, because in 2024 there is supposedly a spiritual conference of wise people that have enlightened the planet over the millennia, and it's supposed to happen in the Gobi Desert in 2024. Now,
I wonder if I'll be here for that.
Well, let me know if you're not going to be around for the show, please.
Okay, I'll send you a virtual post. I'll send you a digital postcard off planet.
Okay.
I'm just teasing. But it is interesting. 2024 seems so far away to me. I don't know why.
It's only a year.
Weird.
And time is, have you noticed how time is picking up? Or maybe it's just that I'm getting older. I don't know which it is.
No, frequencies are increasing. I think it's the frequency that creates the illusion of it. I've noticed that regular time, if you look at time and the illusion of the clocks, it's stretched. In other words, they're trying to delay everything. That's them. That's the weaponization of the atmosphere. But true space-time is frequency. It's fast. It's moving forward. It's in my opinion, it's exactly what you're describing. It's going very quickly. But I've noticed a distortion in the field. So it's like time dilation.
Well, oh yeah, no, it's really quite amazing, and it does feel as though you know how they say a watch pot never boils. It feels like something is burbling, ready to come to a boil, but after the first of the year.
Right. Yep. You bet. I agree. Well, that's something to look at, isn't it?
Yeah.
Remotely.
I can't put a finger on what it is. I do know that those it would not be necessarily the government we know, but probably the government we don't know that is trying to manipulate us, and I don't think the population is going to stand for it. So,
well, I think they've been trying to eradicate people. So, go ahead. Yeah,
but I agree with you. They're trying to cut down the population for sure. There was a study out that I read briefly, and I can't tell you where it was from. I wish I could, but it came out just within this last week that men's sperm counts are way down. So I think that something has been done, whether it was with vaccines or whatever. But I think our population is going to start to really go down because I don't think that we're going to be having as many babies as we have in the past. And that's global.
I agree. Yeah. No, they're wanting that, though. I mean, this is what a lot of them want, to have a very minimal population. Although you can always clone. If it gets to that level where people can't have children anymore, you can clone. That is definitely a possibility. But I still say that they're wanting a particular amount of people here, which it doesn't make any sense to me because, in my opinion, I think people can live off planet. If it's too overpopulated, what's wrong with having another planet to live on? What's wrong with that? We have the capabilities. I know people don't think so, but I know we do. So why not?
I could
get some people to say, hey, I would go. In a heartbeat, I'd leave this world. I would. I'm a traveler. There's no doubt about it. So I'm okay with that. Not many people may be. But I'd say, okay, there's plenty of space in the cosmos, people. Come on. Let's not get greedy here.
Well, no, I agree with you. But, if they are reducing the population, and who was it? Somebody said that we had to open our borders because we needed these people to come in and be workers and work in the fields. And I'm pretty sure, I'm pretty positive that those people coming in have no intention of working in the fields.
Oh, heck no. I'm not coming over here to work for her. You go pick my oranges for me? Pretty much that's what she said. It's like, really? Woman. I swear. Thank goodness she's leaving. So.
Yeah.
At least that's what the story is, right?
She's had a good long run, and here and there she may have done. I think it somebody suggested that there be age limits and term limits, and I think that's a good idea. It was originally in the Constitution, and they took it out. I think they should
don't know why.
It back in.
I think so, because they become permanent fixtures. It's ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
Squatters.
No, and I think that there are massive changes coming, and I don't know who's going to make them. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I do know massive changes are coming, and I think that we're in for that the next year, 23, is going to be fascinating to watch and uncomfortable to live through. So
lovely.
Yeah.
I guess I'll get my light ship and watch from afar then, huh? I think I'd like to watch from the moon. That'll be a jump point to the next destination. I'll just watch from there.
I have heard the moon is hollow and that it there's a whole bunch of stuff inside of it. So and
it'd be a great view, wouldn't
it? Oh yeah. Oh my goodness. It would be. But terra firma. I'm very fond of the Earth.
I know. I think it's a beautiful place. I mean, it can be. I don't feel a connection to it cosmically, spiritually, though. It's very weird. Everything is celestial with me. But I do think it's a nice place, and I've had some nice experiences here. I can recommend Coca-Cola, pizza, nice people, spirituality. I love trees and animals, oceans, lakes.
Well, I think I'm with you on that. I think that it really is an amazing planet. I think the fact that we are not indigenous to this planet is something that people forget. It's sort of like people forget that we did not come from this planet, and they forget that our bodies are just avatars. They are not our spirit. And so many are living under illusions that make it very difficult to survive.
Right. Yeah. They need to crack that shell. It's all programming. It's all social engineering. But if you look and you see what's going on with mainstream, they give you the probability, like the possibility, not the probability, but it's like, oh, well, there's who are these visitors and who are these aliens? But they never correlate our DNA to ancient cosmic celestial heritage, which is what we are. And that's such a disservice. They don't want anybody to be extraterrestrial. And that's the biggest mistake they ever made on the timelines. They should have told everybody, I don't care if you believe it or not, but you know that you're cosmic and you need to acknowledge it. And, you don't hear that anymore. Well, you never heard it anyway. But I think mystery schools were definitely involved in that.
We are extraterrestrials. I mean,
yep. Very true.
So, genetically, my family's been here for hundreds of years. I can trace it back. But the reality is my DNA didn't come from here. Because our DNA is older than the planet, so we had to come from somewhere else. So
how can people not see that? I don't get it. Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, you can tell them that, but they don't comprehend it. And it's we are. Patrick had a term that he used a lot. And he kept saying, we are the people we've been waiting for.
That's very true. Very, very true.
And when he first said it, I kind of just looked at him, and now I understand it. And it's sort of like, we are the extraterrestrials. We are them. So,
Alien Intelligence, my new book alludes to that. That's what I talk about in that book, Alien Intelligence. Or Cosmic Ancestry. I don't know if you've read that one, have you? If you haven't, I'll send you a copy if you want one. You might like
I'd love one.
Yeah, it's a good read, in my opinion. Of course, I'm the author, so. But it is. It's about our cosmic ancestry. That's the whole idea, that we are the descendants of the visitors. And the disinformation in some of the UFO community, not all of it, but a lot of it.
I mean, it may have been our ancestors that even created the Earth in order to inhabit it.
That's right, terraform.
I mean, so it's I don't think people understand that. It's just they have. I'm not saying they have little minds, but their perspective is little. And if they just would open up to, the cosmic view of it, it would be so much. It could be so exciting. It's a neat time. It really is. And
it's overdue. I think that's why they do drugs. To be honest, try to get into that level or out to that level for expansion, to get information, to get gnosis.
It could be, and if that's the point of it, and they take if they take the information and incorporate it into their lives and live by it, that's great. But if they're just out for a good trip, that's not a good idea.
No, I agree with you. And when they transfer out in that disorientation, it's not going to be a pretty ride either. So keep that in mind.
Well, I can remember way back when, and I don't know what people were on. I think it was LSD. They thought they could fly and they walked off buildings. I mean,
it sounds like LSD.
So that doesn't help any. I mean, if it helped, if it gave you a better perspective, if you could take that perspective, incorporate it into your life and live your life accordingly, that's great. But that's especially kids today. I mean, junior high kids are using all sorts of different, drugs that they find in their parents' medicine cabinets and things like that, just to get high or get low or whatever.
That's crazy.
I don't understand it.
I don't either.
I mean,
they shouldn't be doing that, but I think they have role models. Go ahead.
Well, that's true. That's true. And my friend Jeannie, her sister-in-law, just recently passed away, and she was using painkillers abusively, and that may have been what took her out. I don't know, but it's kind of like there was abuse, and I think the danger is always that no matter how good something is, that it will eventually become abusive.
Yeah, I think so. It's interesting that what you mentioned, people jumping off of the buildings. I can fly, but if you're into astral projection and you're expanded in consciousness, you understand. Yes, you can fly, but you astral project. Or consciousness and motion.
Yeah,
it's interesting, but see how the body, the body didn't correlate that.
Yeah, you don't take the body with you.
That's right. Unless you're face shifting and bilocating or something. But isn't that weird?
Well, yeah.
It's just interesting. But it's a sad way to leave. I mean, under the influence of something that's, when you're not in control and you're just being, dragged across the world, wherever you're going.
Well, I think, too, there's a lot of, things, people slipping drugs to people that don't know they're getting a drug and stuff like that, too, that's a little scary.
That's no good.
No.
That's why I say bring bottled water if you go out in public. If you go to conferences, make sure you have bottled water and you're in charge of it with a lid.
Oh yeah.
I don't like anybody give me any drinks or anything. Trust anybody.
Jenna has an older brother who's 20, and he's in college, and I don't worry about him at all. He's a great big guy, and he's got a good head on his shoulders. And Jenna does too, but she's female, and I see all of these awful things happening to girls in college these days, and I'm horrified. I want to go
like
with
I said,
her.
Just get her in a martial arts class. Go ahead.
I really want to do that. I
put her in Krav Maga.
Do.
That's my recommendation. I would say that one. That's gross motor skills, but they teach really good self-defense for women. Or jiu-jitsu. That's even better. Gracie jiu-jitsu. I'd recommend that. I studied Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and I did Japanese jiu-jitsu. It's really good because most fights end up on the floor, on the ground. And women who are smaller usually have the advantage. You can get in and really put people in chokes. But, I would recommend something like that. It doesn't take a whole lot, just a little bit of training here and there, get her more confident.
Yeah, I bought the alarms that she can have on her belt for when she goes to college, and hopefully she'll take them with her. But I think that so many people. Oh, I know. I remember when I went to college in the '60s. There was none of that. It was almost like everybody was just so ignorant of everything.
Well, maybe it was better times. I'm sure there were serial killers and creeps and this, that, and the other, but it wasn't as bad as it is now. Everything's dangerous. People don't care anymore. They just don't care. There's a lot of weird, violent people out there right now. Seriously, you have to watch your back. You really do. Everybody.
And I think a lot of them have been abused. A lot of them have been into over-medicating themselves, and because there's so much out there available for them to get into, they do. And that's frightening. And
a lot of those crimes are committed when they're on drugs. Yeah, a lot of those people are tripping out. They're on meth or something, a lot of meth heads and that other drug. Yeah, it's just nuts.
Oh, yeah. No, and the fentanyl. Where did that come from? People say China, but I don't know if that's where it really came from. But it's such a small amount of it can kill you. Now, why would anybody want to? I don't understand why anybody would want to even be near anybody that had that. I mean, that just, it doesn't make sense to me. I mean,
you've seen footage of law enforcement, right? I mean, police officers can't come near it. If they get in close proximity, then they get really sick. I mean, I saw some footage, and the guy passed out. They had to drag him out of there and help him recover. This is dangerous stuff. Nobody should be around that. Nobody.
And
can you imagine if they leave it around where somebody picks it up? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Or even just a crumb. I mean, it's so little of it could kill you that it doesn't make sense. Why would anybody be crazy enough to try something like that? That just blows me away.
Yeah. I think they're like zombies. I really think these people are just like dead as persons. You know, there's nothing there. Empty vehicles, empty vessels that just take in whatever drugs are there. I don't think there's anybody home. I don't know anybody in their right mind who would do stuff like that. Nobody spiritually sound would touch that stuff. So it tells you where they're at.
I think
zombies.
In a lot of cases, people don't know they're taking it. That's what gets me.
Yeah, that's even worse.
You know, it kind of makes you want to make sure that your prescription drugs are your prescription drugs and they don't go anywhere else. But
right. Look them up. Look up the numbers on my suggestion. Look up the numbers and look up the pill if you're getting prescription medicine.
Oh, yeah.
They make errors in pharmacies.
I just take one for indigestion, so, you know.
Well,
I probably wouldn't need it if I just ate right, but.
Well, what did you eat?
A little of everything, especially this week.
Well, I hope you had a nice Thanksgiving, by the way.
I did. Did you?
Good. I did not really celebrate, you know, but it was quiet. It was okay. All right. I didn't overeat or anything like that, so it's good.
Well, I had the pleasure of being at a large family Thanksgiving with 11 people, 2 of which were young children, and it was hectic. I was glad to get home to my cats.
I bet. Did they put the kids at the small table, like in the old days?
No, they sat with the grown-ups.
They used to have their own private little chair and desk, whatever it was. Remember the tables? I digress.
I do.
They used to put the kids over in a separate area.
Preferably the kitchen. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
that's what they used to do.
That's what I remember. But then that's generational, Solaris.
I guess so. See? What are you going to do?
Oh, God. So we're out of time.
Wow.
This
that
has
was
been fun again. It did. It's your choice for the end of the month. So.
Oh, dear. Okay, well, I'll pick something. Stay tuned, everyone.
Yes. You never know where we're going to go. You may know where we start, but you'll never know where we end up.
That's right. Thank you, Barbara. This has been wonderful. Really enjoyed your company today. Good night.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure talking with you and sharing philosophies with you and all of that stuff. Okay. So I will say thank you again and good night, and I want to thank everybody also for listening and being with us. This will be up on YouTube shortly, probably tomorrow. Check us out there, and if you like what you see on the channel, please subscribe to it. Mark and I would really appreciate it. Thanks again, and good night.